Not ready yet. Andy, we ready? Are we ready? Can we start?
Probably not.
I was trying to be polite.
Smart man. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call the Highway and Building Committee meeting for Thursday, January 11th, 2018 to order, and we'll have roll call, please.
Mr. McConnell, Mr. Tripp, Mr. LaJess, Mr. Vickery, Mr. Olthoff, Ms. Polk, Mr. Mulcahy, Mr. Hildebrand, Mr. Einfeld, Ms. Weber, Ms. Evans, Ms. Peters, Ms. Parker, Mr. Ritter, Mr. Kinzinger, Mr. Wheeler, Mr. Lear. We have a quorum.
Mrs. Polk, good to see you here. Okay, we have a quorum. We need to, you've had the minutes presented to you, publicly, no comments. We need a motion to approve the minutes for December 14th, 2017. Ms. Parker and Mr. Okay, Vickery. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approve. Motion, anybody want to disagree? Motion carried. Okay, Mark.
We have no bid and letting this morning. I do have a couple of pay estimates to pay this morning. The first one is for our 2017 General Maintenance Supplement 1, payable to Vulcan Incorporated. This is for aluminum sign blanks, and that amount is $1,125.65. Next is for Kankakee Road District, their 2017 General Maintenance, payable to Compass Minerals America. This is for salt that was delivered to their stockpile, and that amount is $4,503.50. And last is Otto Township Road District for their 2017 General Maintenance Supplement 1, payable to Vulcan Materials. This is for road mix picked up at the quarry with their trucks, and that amount is $571.96.
Need a motion to accept? That's Mr. McCahey back there, and Ms. Peters seconded. So, any comments, corrections, deletions? We have to have roll call, please.
Mr. McConnell,
Aye.
Mr. LaJess, Mr. Vickery, Ms. Polk, Mr. Mulcahy, Mr. Hildebrand, Ms. Evans, Ms. Peters, Ms. Parker, Mr. Ritter, Mr. Kinzinger, Mr. Wheeler. Motion carried.
Motion carries. Okay. Mark?
I have 3 resolutions this morning. The first resolution is a resolution authorizing the county board chairman to sign a local agency agreement for federal participation and appropriating matching tax funds for the resurfacing of County Highway 37. County Highway 37 is the road just north and east of Sugar Island Bridge, and it's for that 2 miles there. And it goes to the Roman Park Road. We have the federal dollars pay 80% of that, and so we are appropriating $90,000 for matching tax funds, and we have to execute the attached agreement.
Okay, we need a motion to, first of all, to waive the total reading of this. Can we get a motion to waive the reading? Ms. Peters, Mr. Hildebrand. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we need a motion to accept this. Mr. Vickery and Mr. LaJess. Okay, any other comments? Any other, Mr. Wheeler, where are you at?
Mr. Chairman, what's the timing of the payment?
It's a progressive payment, so once they start work, we just wait for the state to bill us, because the letting for this one is in Springfield. Springfield pays the contractor, then they bill us.
So it could be May, June, maybe?
Oh, it's probably going to be, it's not on until the April letting, so it won't get awarded till May. The work probably won't get done till at least July, so I'm guessing July or August.
Okay, good. It's my intent, though, would be to use this on maybe we can pay this. At that point, we have a better picture of the financial pick. We pay it to you out of the general fund so we can start paying back,
Okay.
if you will. So that's my intent on that.
Great.
So just to let you know. Thanks.
Mr. Lear.
I'm not sure on reading these forms. The resolution refers to $90,000. When I flip this page, it's talking about division of cost. I see $80,680.
I'm appropriating, I'm padding the matching tax portion so I don't have to come back to this committee to just get,
Okay.
$5,000 reappropriated for any overages. So I do pad the resolution, and yes, that is the amount that we agreed to with the state, but it is a 20% share, no matter what the cost is.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? We need a roll call, please.
Mr. McConnell.
Aye.
Mr. Lajas. Mr. Vickery. Ms. Polk. Mr. Mulcahy. Mr. Hildebrand. Ms. Evans. Ms. Peters. Ms. Parker. Mr. Ritter. Mr. Kinzinger. Mr. Wheeler. Motion carries.
Second, Mark?
All right, the next resolution is a resolution authorizing the county board chairman to sign a proposal for MBI's bridge inspection services and appropriating county joint bridge funds. The Federal Highway Administration requires each state to assure that all bridges are being inspected on a certain cycle. The state of Illinois has a list, and we are responsible for inspecting those bridges. And when Jim Pekarzik was county engineer, he was our principal, and Tim Hamilton in our office was our team leader. Well, Tim has done bridge inspections for 40 years for the county. Well, when I became county engineer, they wouldn't let me be program manager unless I took more classes, and at the time I didn't have time to do that. So we contacted Jake Wolf at Engineering Resources Associates, and he was kind enough to be our program manager. And he has not charged us anything to do this, except if he had to come to town to take care of any miscellaneous items. But we always did the inspections, sent them to him. He would review them, sign off, and just send them back to us, and we were in compliance. That employee at the County Highway Department is going to be retiring in a few years. And so we need to have a team leader. So we contacted Mr. Wolf and ERA, and they have agreed to do our inspections for us and the townships. Now, this proposal is just for the county structures. I did announce to the highway commissioners that they are going to have to start paying a consultant to do this also. They are all signing similar proposals to have ERA do the inspections for them. There is a list of bridges that have to be inspected on the back and their due dates, so you can see the inspections start in probably March and April and go into May. It is a strict schedule. We become delinquent if we do not have them inspected by the certain time. I've been thinking about this for a while, only because it does lift some liability off of the county if a consultant is doing the inspections. So this is something that I've been thinking about for a while. But now that this person has told me they're going to be retiring, while he's here, he'll go out with the first inspection team, get them acquainted with the bridges, and then these inspections are either every 2 years or every 4 years. So this won't be an every year occurrence. In 2 years, there's some that are on a 2-year cycle that are more critical inspections, and then it'll be 4 years for the next cycle.
Okay, first of all, we need a motion to waive the reading of this resolution. Ms. Evans and somebody else, Mr. Lajes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Any questions? Mr. Kinzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Come on.
I like the idea of waiving the liability, but would like to recommend in the future that in the townships and the county are going to be doing this, there is some economy of going together to work together. You could coordinate bridges and perhaps get a better contract than each of us getting individual ones.
That ERA is doing all of them, and he has been the program manager for the townships also for us, because we've always done it for the townships at no charge. So this is a learning experience for the township highway commissioners to have to absorb this cost. But yes, this is an economy thing. And as you'll see on there, it's a price not to exceed. So it could be lower than this. This is why this is a learning experience for the consultant at this time, because our person is going to go out and we can do, if there's a bunch of them grouped together, we're going to do them all as they go.
Mr. Lejas.
Not sure when it was, maybe back in the 90s, but the county board went on a tour. We had a bus, went on a tour, toured all the bridges, and we actually went down into the creek and looked up. And anyway, what's the procedure if one fails to meet an inspection?
Well, it gets put on a list and it might get posted. We have several bridges around the county that are posted either legal load or maybe 40 ton. And 20, like 20 tons an axle or whatever. Some are just 10-ton bridges, but then they come on a cycle where they have to be inspected every 2 years and make sure that the posting signs are up.
Okay.
Which one, 6 one? Okay,
Yep.
got it.
16.
Yep.
There we go. I think we had that happen out there south of Minnemaness. Didn't we have a bridge
Yes.
And we had to shut that bridge down and
Yes.
do a temporary repair and then bid it and build a new bridge.
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
exactly.
Any other questions for him? We need a roll call, please.
Mr. McConnell?
Aye.
Mr. Lejes? Mr. Vickery? Ms. Polk? Mr. Mulcahy? Mr. Hildebrand? Ms. Evans? Ms. Peters? Ms. Parker? Mr. Ritter? Mr. Kinzinger? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Mr. Wheeler.
What was the motion and the second by on that?
We had a waiver, but I don't know if we had one for the vote.
Evans and Lejes.
That
Yeah,
a waiver.
That's on the waiver
that was on
reading.
the waiver?
and we voted on that, but yeah,
We do need a motion and a second. I don't think we need to revote if the committee's satisfied.
Okay.
We just
Need a
need to get
motion.
an official motion.
Mr. Lejes, Mr. Ritter. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Thank you for catching that.
All right. The last resolution I have is a resolution appropriating county bridge funds to construct a bridge on the Livingston-Kankakee County line. This structure, there's a map included on your packet, is on the county line between Livingston County and Kankakee County. The statutes say that, well, actually, this is a township road, but the statutes say that any structure located on a township line belongs to the counties. And we have to maintain those bridges. And since it is a I think it's Round Grove Township road, Livingston County is taking the lead. They have done some engineering, and the bridge needs to be replaced. So they are going to do the engineering, they are going to have the letting, they are going to do the construction inspection, and they are just going to bill us our proportionate share. Unfortunately, we pay about 75% and Livingston County pays 25%, just based on our assessed valuation. That's how they split the cost. So this is appropriating the money to use out of county bridge funds to pay for that bridge replacement.
Okay, first of all, we need a motion to waive the reading of this one. Mr. Vickery and Mr. Tinker. Tinkerbird, the second one. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Any other questions, comments at all? Mr. Ritter.
So you said they're taking the lead on it, but we're paying 70% of that. Are we having any oversight of that, or are we just paying what they say we have to pay?
Yes, the county engineer over there is sending me all the correspondence, all the plans, everything. And if we have any concerns or questions, yes, we do have some say in it. When we do a project with full county, we pay about 8% and they pay 92%. So it just depends on where it lands.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
A motion to approve the resolution.
Mr. Vickery is way ahead of me. A second, Mr. Lejes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we need,
We're
that's
spending
a
money.
roll call.
Mr. McConnell?
Aye.
Mr. Lejes? Mr. Vickery? Ms. Polk? Mr. Mulcahy? Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Evans. Ms. Peters. Ms. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger. Mr. Wheeler. Motion carries.
Any other questions for Mark before we go? Tinker?
I just want to say compliments to the Highway Department. I've had several people stop me and tell me this, and one email from a resident about the great job that Highway Department did clearing the roads out, especially in our district out in the country, and they wanted to send compliments to you for that job.
Thank you. I will pass along those compliments to my staff. Thank you.
Mr. Vickery?
I hate to bring this up, the old State Line Bridge thing. Anything going on?
I have not heard anything in probably 6 months, but I'll call over there and see if there's anything happening.
Every now and then I get a question from a resident, you know, I don't know why, but they want to know, and so I thought, well, I'd pass that along.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Will do.
Any other questions for Mark? Okay, Mr. Gadbois. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Morning.
Morning. We'll start off with facility dude, 140 work orders for the month of December, down a little bit from our typical 170, probably because of the holidays and the downtime in the courthouse, what have you. The financial report for the month of December was $17,059, a couple thousand above what we typically spend. I am using outside contractors more now than I was in the past, only because of the loss of some personnel. So we're having to go to outside. So we're going to see this number probably go up a little higher than $15,000 a month. Probably going to be bouncing around the $18,000 mark a month. So if no one has any questions. If anybody does have questions about these, you can see me in my office and I can run down this whole thing with you and what we pay out. Any questions on finance? Or we'll move on to building report. We've had a heck of a month. With the cold weather, we got beat up here a little bit. I'll start with this building. Our salt truck for all the parking lots, the auger busted in the salt spreader. Well, it was full and ready to go. So now I had to have it dumped, which was an issue in itself. And then we took it out to BSI. They fixed it right away, and we're back in operation with that. So that was the start of it. My car broke down. The car that's given to me by the sheriff's department to drive. It broke down, tie rod, strut, rear brakes, rotors, engine oil leak, and a transmission leak. This car has 127,000 miles on it. It's not uncommon. I just had to, the object was to go get it fixed, and we did. Now, the sheriff takes care of those repairs because it is his car. I don't know what the costs were. That was all bumped right back to him, but I do have my car back. Bruce Clark requested that we have the vault on the first floor clean. That typically is supposed to get done every year. I've been here for almost 6 years. I never seen it done. So this was a new one. He had grant money for that. We went ahead and had a company come in, and they have cleaned the vault, and we will now stay on a regular cycle to get that done. What happens is if you touch it, it rusts. It turns to rust, and I wasn't aware of any of this. I just found all this out. So company did come in and take care of it. It was being paid by a grant, so no money out of anybody's pocket again. We do have an issue in this building with the roof. I've mentioned this last month. This roof over the second floor and right outside the windows here as you go up and down the stairs, the one over the outside the window here is leaking bad. We've had several issues. I patched it. I can't put any more patches on this thing. We're going to shoot some caulk in there right now because it's leaking again down into planning. We're going to try and keep this repair and make it ourselves, but this roof's going to have to get replaced on this building. We have to figure out a way to pay for it. It's pulling loose off the flashings, and it's stretching now.
Do we have an estimate on it?
No, I haven't done anything with it. I'm giving you a heads up here. This is going to have to get looked at this year. On top of the courthouse rotunda roof at $36,900. What I have is a quote for that roof. We're going to have to go out to bid on it, and I've been holding off till spring. We've got the leaks patched for right now, but that roof also has to get done. We have to do these two roofs. This roof's 22 years old out here. So I'll follow up on this as we move forward. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you get the numbers and bring that back to committee next month with an estimate on this roof?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll have them come look at it. The annex building, Tom Latham asked to have cameras reinstalled in that building that were upgraded. It was grant funded. Tom went ahead and we had those cameras installed. They are installed. There's a couple of things we need to do there yet, but those cameras are up and operational. We redistributed them around on the outside of the building, so we got a better view of the parking lots and the old jail to the west. So that it was a good install, and things are working really well there. I had the boiler go down in that building last week. They came in and fixed that, and I had a couple of little snafus here with this snow removal. I had one of my guys slid into a light pole at the annex building with a pickup truck, and then Monday one of my guys clipped the front of a car. I called Homer with Ryan Insurance. It's all being taken care of. The plow pole, we're just going to take care of. We're not going to submit that claim. We'll just take care of it. But the car is being repaired. It was an employee of the county. He's being very understanding, and we're working with him. It's going really well. So the insurance company's taking care of that as well. At the courthouse, what a month at the courthouse. We had the scaffold built from the 3rd floor all the way up into the dome. It was built up to the bottom ledge of the dome, and then another 3 sections of scaffold was built on top of that to get up to the top. We made all the repairs. We painted the interior of the dome that what could be painted, but I want you to understand those paintings that are up there are not on the wall. They're on canvas, and they're nailed to that wall, those walls up there. Well, over the years, that plaster that's busting away inside there is now falling down into the bottom of those pictures, which is bulging out about, I'm going to say 12 inches. The painter has some real concerns about all that stuff up there. They cleaned all those off, got all the plaster dust, if you will, off of them. That scaffold went up in 3 days. The painter was there for 2 days, and then the scaffold company came back and removed all that scaffold and took it all out of there in 2 days. So over the holidays, we were able to get that completed. Lo and behold, there was a few snafus with courts and all that, but we worked our way through it. The new counters, we took the old counters out of 209. That was for the a self-represented litigant computers that had to go in there by January 2nd. We tore all the counters out. I had counterfeiters come over. They cut counter that needed to be cut and reinstalled new counters with 2 computer stations there. I tore out the carpet. We had the carpet removed, and I have new tile coming in there that'll just attach to the tile that's already existing, run right through, and finish that area off. I had it painted, short little area in there painted and addressed, and those are operational. So we've completed all that. That's being taken care of by the circuit clerk's office, those costs. Again, I continue to have heating issues there. It's hard to keep that building. When it goes to zero, it's a tough job, but at any rate. Tree removal. The tree we talked about last month on Merchant Street, $1,750. I spoke with the city yesterday. They're going to stump it, and they're going to fix the sidewalks for it. That's Estes Tree Service. They took the rest of those trees down, the 13 trees we had removed before. They've done a great job for us, and I'm going to continue to use them. There's also a tree on the front of the courthouse, a big oak. As you drive by there's 2 oaks on the right-hand side, right at Indiana Avenue. One of those is really bad. I'm going to have him take that down as well. It's $1,250. He actually asked me if we were waiting for that to fall on someone. So I'm going to go ahead and have him take that down as well. The door on courtroom 209 wasn't compliant for the self-represented litigant computers. It was only a 32-inch door. They came over and replaced that door to match the other 2 doors on the other 2 courtrooms on the 2nd floor. Everything matches. If you went over there, you'd never know it was replaced. So that's done as well, brought to ADA compliance. I have a water main break down in the boiler room as we speak. It's being repaired on Saturday. I couldn't shut it down because I have to turn off the boilers there. With the cold weather, we just put it off until this coming Saturday. That'll be fixed. The old jail, We've worked through the pneumatic repairs. I think we're almost there. It's all in manual. We can't do any of this automatic. It's still in manual. It'll stay in manual forever because we just don't, I don't think we want to spend the funds to bring all that back up to automatic. It would be very, very costly. But we got it working. And the guy we have there for the county is doing a great job, and he's on top of what's happening there. So we got a good guy over there, so that's working as well. We had a surprise visit from the health department at the old jail. The dishwasher machine wasn't compliant, wasn't heating the water hot enough. As it turns out, the booster heater went bad. I had a new booster heater sent here. We have it, and they're installing it as we speak. I had 15 days to make that repair, or they were going to shut the kitchen down. So we went ahead and fixed it. It's been, in fact, it's being fixed as we speak. I'm sorry. It never stops. All right.
Mine's off because it's
Jerome Combs Detention Center. We lost boiler number 1 in phase 1. That was repaired. The Johnson Control heat and cooling upgrades are taking place. They're still working on that. We wound up having a room over there. We had, at one time at Jerome Combs, there's booster pumps. Because Aqua couldn't provide 60 pounds of pressure on the water, they had to install booster pumps out there. Aqua has since made a lot of improvements and got that pressure up to 60 pounds. We've shut those 2 systems down in phase 1 and phase 2. As it turns out, we had a leak pretty sizable on that system, flooded the room. Because the heaters that were in that room weren't sufficient enough to keep it from freezing, they went ahead, all that froze. We made the cleanup, lickety split, done and done. So I have purchased a couple of heaters for that room to beef that up and get that fixed. What else? There was a pile of chemicals out there. They are expired MRSA chemicals. I had to have those chemicals removed per ICE. We just had that done. It was about $2,500 to have those chemicals taken or reclamated and taken away. There's nowhere to take it. It actually could have been dumped down the drain. Here's the problem with it. MRSA chemicals kill the stuff that the city puts into the sewer system to deplete. I don't completely understand how this works, but the stuff we were going to dump down the drain and wash away was going to do more harm than good to the city sewer plant. So we went ahead and had chemical reclamation come and take that stuff away. It was the best decision, and that's what we've done. We now have that out of our way. Yesterday, what's today? 2 days ago, the state's attorney's office called and asked if we could send somebody over to the treasurer's building because they need to get in there and get some files. Absolutely. Carl went over, busted water line, frozen in the wall in the bathrooms. Now, I keep that building about 65, but those 2 bathrooms around outside walls burst. I went over there, got the water shut off. The basement was completely flooded. It was about a foot of water in the basement. The pump had kicked off because of the water flowing down there, tripped out the electrical breakers. Long story short, we got everything cleaned up. I called the insurance company. They met with me there yesterday. We have permission to call ServPro. They're coming here at 11 o'clock this morning. They're going to mitigate all the drywall because it's starting to mold already. And anything else that's down there that needs to be mitigated, the insurance company's already approved everything. And I'm working forward with them and ServPro today in order to get this completed. There's about between 80 and 100 boxes of state's attorney files over there. I don't know what the plan is with this building, but trying to keep it going isn't working. One of the air handlers is done. I can't get it to fire. The second air handler's limping along. This is going to turn into an issue if we don't do something. And they go over there maybe once or twice a week to pull files that are there. So we can't.
That's over there?
That's the only thing that's in that building is those files on the first floor. Everything else could be gutted. I did have a burglar alarm system put in it only because of the files that are in there. They're sex crime files, so we have to keep security on those files so nobody can get in here and get them.
Could you check with the state's attorney to see if they can pull them anywhere?
Well, we don't have anywhere to put them. So I did speak to Jim about this, and we really don't have an answer for that just yet because we haven't really addressed it like we should. but we're gonna try and get on top of this. We're gonna have to do something with this building.
We knew that last year.
Yes. The only issue I have is the parking lot lighting out here is fed from that building. Now, I have the water service cut off. I just cut the water off. We don't need to keep the bathrooms or water running in there anymore. So I've done away with that. We do need the gas and electric until we decide what we're going to do with that stuff. So,
Mr. Wheeler,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How many square foot are those files taking up?
almost the whole building. About 3/4 of that building is filled with boxes stacked 3 and 4 high. And what's happening is it's going to turn into an unorganized mess because they're pulling bottom boxes and it's just turning into a mess. It's going to be a mess unless somebody stays on top of it. And I don't know if anybody's even assigned to it through the state's attorney's office. And certainly I'm not finding fault. I'm only issues that need to be addressed.
Have we ever looked at how much it would cost to take that building down?
No, we never addressed it.
we'll take it down. We got to fill up.
Well, the problem is the tunnel.
Yeah.
Because about 3/4 of the tunnel, well, when the insurance company adjuster was here yesterday, we walked up the tunnel and it's raining in there because of the heat, because the tunnel, I got to keep heat in the tunnel. Well, now it's condensating out because of the ground temperature. So it's raining in the tunnel.
It's going to cave in one of these days.
Right. And that's what he said to me is this tunnel is working its way to cave in.
Yep.
And that's going to take the parking lot with it.
Yep.
That comes all the way to this building.
We knew that last year. We knew that this was going to happen last year.
This is going to have to be addressed. So, we're going to have to address this problem. So we don't use the tunnel typically. We don't allow anybody in the tunnel. There was a fire down there at one time in the lighting. It was taken down and they secured the tunnel. The county did from anybody using it. So
I think that we should put it on our radar, especially with you going to sunnier pastures mid-year, that we at least have some type of a plan out of this committee, what we're going to do with this whole solution when the money avails itself, and do it in stages maybe. As money frees up, we can do what's first, what's second, and then what the final answer would be for the whole thing.
Of course,
I don't know how the committee feels, but this isn't going to go away. It's only going to get worse.
No,
Right, it's gonna get worse.
If we took the files out, then we can. Who cares? I mean, the building's going to be empty. We can shut the power off, shut the electrical off, and then keep the plan going. But the files got to go first.
Yeah, well, then that tunnel. I've thought that's been on my
right.
mind for 4.5 years, really,
Yep.
because we've known that
We've known it.
we've
Yep.
known that's happening, and that's where people park. I mean, that's
Drive across it all the
Yeah.
time.
the
Pardon?
tunnel? Oh, it's probably 7 feet tall by 6 feet wide. And
yeah.
it runs from the boiler room here all the way over to that, under the parking.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
We knew about this several years ago. Mr. Vickery,
Yeah, there's several rooms down there too.
No, there's one room.
Just one room now? Okay,
And it has air conditioning. It's no heat in that tunnel.
okay.
So, I mean, one thing seems to lead to another here that just keeps creating problems.
Right.
The best decision we made was getting everybody out of that building. That was huge. That was huge. Now we need to address the problem. First thing we need to do is get those files out of there. Then we can start gutting the building a little bit at a time. Counters, there's a lot of stuff over there. Counter wise, all the old counters are still existing. All the glass walls that were in front of them.
Bulletproof glass.
No,
I thought we did that. I thought we put,
no, it's tempered.
oh, okay.
Mr. Wheeler, then Mr. Lejeune.
sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The old VAC, can that handle files?
Yes.
I think there's our answer. That we're not doing anything with that property. It's just sitting there.
That's probably a good move. I mean, maybe we ought to do that. Maybe we ought to consider moving all that stuff into the VAC. If you're not going to move the maintenance department down there, when that's yet to be discussed.
I
Mr. Lejeune,
just like to say that great minds think alike. That's the exact question I had.
then why did you ask it?
Well, because you called it in first, because you're sucking up.
Okay. The other day I went up and I shared my thoughts with the county board chairman, and I probably wasn't very nice, and I apologize for that, but staffing levels in this department are bad. They're really bad. I had Bill off having his knee replaced, dropped me down to 7 guys. Now, if I get a call off, we're in trouble here. I can't keep up. And we're falling further and further behind on things that need to get done here. by not having appropriate staffing levels. Now, we've tried as hard as we can over the last 2 years to cooperate with the county in the cutbacks. And I'm going to say this out loud. When I walk around and see every department in this county fully manned, short of the sheriff's department, I have a problem with this. And I'm saying it to all you. Just getting up and walking out of here is not the answer anymore. Something needs to get done here to get this department where it needs to be and keep things operational. And we're all running. We're running. Poor Chris Martin out of Jerome Combs works alone there as the mechanic, and he's running. And I have to tell you, it's not fair to him or me that we're doing this. So somebody needs to address this and beef up this department with at least a couple of custodians so we can keep the mechanics working on things that are broke. Because we continue to have it. Our problems aren't going away with this old equipment. And I've said this over and over. And I guess call me reaming you a little bit, but it needs to be addressed.
Well, I agree. I've been there and done that. Mr. Jess.
Well, I think you made a statement earlier that on the, is this the facility dude? That monthly expenses needs to be about 15,000 and it's going to keep going up.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me like if you can spend the money on somebody and keep that at 15, you know, I know that's a guess, but if that's continue to grow, you'd be better off to hire somebody and keep that at a lower cost, wouldn't you? I mean, can you not, you know, absolutely say it's gonna go back to 15 if you hired somebody, but what you're saying is that cost can come down if you would hire somebody.
Well, you're in catch-22. I don't know how to address this. I only have 9 guys really that work in the maintenance department because Bob, of course, is the mail courier. So when I have a call off and then somebody's on vacation, I have buildings unmanned. I have buildings unmanned.
Brian, is there any way you can track, we can do it, but any way you can track what we have called in that we would be able to do if we had a man to do it?
Absolutely.
That would give us a good idea where that situation is. And if we're spending $30,000 in excess and stuff, we can look at that. So, Mr. Wheeler.
That was going to be my point. If this committee can put down the cost benefit of bringing in one to start with to help alleviate that, and then send that over to the finance committee saying this committee recommends that it actually we're money ahead, or at least we're in a wash and we're getting things done in a more timely fashion. This committee should recommend finance to approve the hire. I think that's the way it should go.
Right.
Or not, as the case may be. Maybe we can't justify it. I'm just saying, I think, you know, I see what Brian's saying. I agree with it. I have to balance that with everything we have to accomplish in the next 2 years.
We're going to pay.
We can't have these buildings falling in on themselves.
Yeah, we're going to pay somebody.
Yeah.
Ms. Peters.
Right. Last time you were in front of this committee, or maybe it was 2 months ago, you even asked for a part-time office person because you're spending a lot of time doing paperwork. So that pulls you away from the important stuff that you can do. So you didn't even bring that up this time. Now you're just so desperate you need somebody to do more work.
I've been talking with the chairman about this and how we can make this, how we can help each other. We're going to try and help each other out. And my personal opinion is you should have someone in that office at least 3 days a week that can make phone calls, price out. Because I don't price out any of my supplies anymore. I buy from PCS because I can go send me 50 cases of inmate toilet paper and it's here the next morning. Should I be pricing it? Absolutely. But I don't have time to sit on the computer and do all that stuff. And know that I took over 3 positions when we got rid of them. The office secretary, the field superintendent, plus my job on top of everything else. And then we did cutbacks in maintenance. I've tried really hard to work with this over the last 2 years, but it's at a point where all of us, my whole department, the stress level in my department is pretty high because I'm asking these guys to pretty much run. I mean, we can't continue to work this way. It's not the way it was designed to be. And
it's starting to cause problems too, because somebody's going to get hurt with all this.
Well, exactly. they're trying to go faster, and it yes, right.
There you go.
It all starts happening because they're trying to get that done because they got to get back in the building. So,
Mr. Wheeler.
Well, under new business, we're going to talk a little bit about what Brian's talking about with the paperwork, the vendors, and all of that kind of stuff. We'll discuss it then.
Okay.
I have something I want to bring to the committee.
Okay.
okay, I have one more thing I want to talk about. I received an email from the National Safety Compliance. It's about OSHA first aid kit requirements. About 2 years ago, we had a company, Z Medical, who came in here once a month or once every 6 weeks, and they refurbished or refill all the medical cabinets. Now, I have locations of where they're located, but OSHA's saying that has to get done. Well, we did away with Z Medical because of the costs. I mean, you can buy a box of Band-Aids at Walgreens for $5. Z Medical charges you, as you know, $10.
15, yeah.
But they come in and take care of it. I don't have time to fill. We don't have time to fill first aid kits. In fact, I don't know that we should take on that responsibility as just plain old people. This isn't just the only issue. AEDs have to be addressed, and I brought this up before. The AEDs, I don't have people qualified to work on AEDs. And what's going to happen if we go to use one and it doesn't work? Are we going to be in trouble? You bet we are. I have all the locations of the AEDs I documented. I have all of the fire extinguishers in the whole county and every building documented. Now, Liberty Fire comes in. In fact, they're here this month. They'll be going through all of our buildings. They upgrade and bring all of our fire extinguishers up to speed. And I documented all that. This stuff, first aid kits, fire extinguishers, AED, panic buttons. I have panic buttons in all these buildings that have to be tested, and they have to be kept up. We don't have anybody do it. This was a job by Loss Risk. When the Loss Risk officer left, Joanne Langlois took this over, and God bless Joanne, is no more qualified than I am to do any of this stuff. Someone needs to be qualified. This job needs to be bumped off onto someone who can look at it regularly. And I just don't have the time to stay on top of this as well. Again, I have to start bumping some things off because I can't do it all. I was taking care of all the laundry supplies for all the jails. Well, I bumped that off back onto the jail. You need to provide someone to make sure we have all the chemicals we need on a regular basis and keep this thing operational. So I've since bumped that back over to Chad Kalawinzu, who has a guy, and he's taking care of it, and they're doing a good job with it. But my point here is the maintenance department took over a lot of things when I came on that because of staffing, I can't keep up with all of it. Some of it has to go away. And I'm trying to weigh all this out and bringing it to you guys because I want you to understand where there's just too much. It's just too much now. So.
Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you. Are you suggesting that there is a different internal manager, or are you looking for a third party to manage this for the county?
Well, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. The Loss Risk Committee meets every other month. Most of it's sit down. We used to do fire drills. We used to do tornado drills. We used to do we haven't had one of those in a year and a half. Because I just don't have the time to go to a building and do a fire drill. You know, I just don't have the time for it. Someone is supposed to be doing it. And we have quite a few new employees here who just don't know where to go in the event of a fire.
To your point, part of this process on this administration reorg, if you will, has been a realization that our risk management policy and procedures, to what you're saying, we've realized this over the past month that we're not really sticking with what we should be doing. We're not managing this. We're reacting to certain situations. It also has to do with how we allocate resources on compensation within the general fund versus tort fund and other things like that. So it all kind of blends together, and know that we're doing work on identifying how we have to manage this better with the limited staffing that we do have. So that is a work in progress. It kind of got a little bit delayed here because of recent events, but it's front burner in the administration department to reconnect to this risk management on many levels, not just safety. There's also, you know, basically tort as well. You know, protect the county from situations where we're vulnerable, i.e., you know, parking lots caving in because of, you know, tunnels and things like that. So this is all part of a larger progress or a process that we're going through right now. We'll come back to this committee with it, but we wanted to assess where we're at. I'm just figuring out who's on this committee because, like you said, it has not met. Well, it may be meeting, but we don't know that on the board level. I don't know if anyone here has known about the risk management committee meeting and any outcomes or anything that's been going on, but we haven't heard about it. And this should be the committee, I think, that hears about it, maybe executive as well if it comes to that level. So I'd say more to come, but know that it's front burner. It's not being ignored.
Right. Well, right. It needs to be addressed. I guess that's the whole point here. We'll stay on top of it. Like I say, fire extinguishers are due right now. They'll do all the buildings, and I'll stay on top of that. The AEDs were just upgraded. Jerome Combs takes care of their own AEDs. The sheriff's department has their AEDs tested. They got a company that comes in and takes care of it. They got as far as the courthouse because I asked them to at least get that far. Well, they never did this building. So we have a few on this building that need to be addressed, but this needs to be addressed and it needs to be done regularly. So I only want you guys to know that this is something else that's going to have to be taken care of. All right. Security at the annex came on here. I don't know what's happening here. Public safety didn't meet yesterday. Tom Latham has some concerns and has shared some concerns about the security in the annex building. But I can't speak for him. So
Pick it up next year.
Okay. So I've talked to him about it, and I know what he's looking for. He has problems because there's no security going into the building. Because when the staffing cutbacks happened, there used to be a sheriff's deputy in that building monitoring things. That is no longer the case. There's been situations where they go into the restroom there on the first floor, and there's naked people taking baths in the sink. You know, I mean, it's just any combination of what you can imagine is happening. There is no controls. They had a situation where someone on probation actually had a gun in the probation office. So after they cuffed him, they found the gun. So this can't happen. And so one of the suggestions I have it written down here to bring up. There are some banks locally that have a foyer entryway where they have to allow you to come into the building because of robbery situations. I would like to find out what it costs these private businesses to put that system in on the front end. If we can somehow have a unmanned someone watching from a camera that it actually scans for weapons at the same time. If we can look at balance the cost of technology versus the cost of a person standing there, because it's not just one person, it's probably 3 people with vacations, shifts, all that other stuff. We're not talking about just sticking somebody in that building 5 days a week because they work on Saturdays. They're in there on the weekends too, I believe. So I would like to balance the cost of technology versus staffing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I don't know who could reach out to these local banks that have that solution installed. And I don't want to necessarily mention names because I don't want to single one out over the other, but it's here in town. Someone told me at one point.
Mr. Justin, Mr. Kinzer.
Yeah, the guys in the courthouse, the security in the courthouse, do they monitor different parts of the courthouse?
They have cameras on every floor.
Isn't there a possibility that the camera down there, they could monitor?
Well, they don't sit and just watch the cameras.
No. But I'm saying, at least have one down there.
I can't answer that. I can't answer.
But I think it goes along with what Andy's saying. You know, your idea is probably better, but because you're the chairman. But I think I'm just thinking. You know, I know that nobody sits there constantly, but at least if they could monitor it occasionally, you know, to see. But if you're not doing it constantly, it probably wouldn't do any good.
Mr. Kinzinger.
I'm not certain what Andy was referring to, but Main Source Bank has that system in operation. I think it'd be a simple phone call to get an idea what that costs.
Would you care to do that, please?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Who do I report to? Brian?
Brian or Chairman?
Andy.
Yeah.
Bring it back to Andy.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay.
I believe that's all I have.
Any other comments? I do. Well, go ahead. I think who was first? Mr. Vickery was first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to see us get a bid or something on moving those files to VAC and have that for next meeting. I think that's a big deal. I think we get those files out of there and get that building shut off. And I know you have a problem with the parking lights are hooked to that panel. We'll have to look at how we do that, you know. So those are two things that would alleviate this issue with that building. Another thing is, we probably need some engineering help on what we do with that tunnel. I don't know how you fill that tunnel. You're gonna have to drill some holes in or something and fill it full of something, I don't know what.
Well, you'd have to, yeah.
Down in Moments, they used styrofoam under the sidewalks. You know, those old coal bins that were underneath the sidewalks? They took the sidewalks out and filled them full of styrofoam. Big blocks, styrofoam. So I don't know how you know, but we need some ideas from engineering to shore that up. But I just think at least if we get some estimates and some ideas from somebody that we could do that. But moving those files, I think, is a big deal.
I'll start my guys. We'll start this a slow process. We'll load a truck and start moving them. We can do that.
Oh, okay.
We'll get that done. I want to get that done right away. That's something that needs to happen.
Okay. Just a minute, Kevin.
Just to answer Mr. Legesta's question, I was monitoring live, so I heard you say what you're doing. Those are two different security systems, what's in the courthouse and what Tom and Brian just put in, because they go through our network, so I know where they are. So while I'm not sure that it can't be done, they're two different systems. So it's not directly done that way. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Wheeler.
Sure, I would say the files, yeah, we just have to check with the state's attorney to make sure that the security over there is exactly what they need it to be. And to maybe have them do a walkthrough to make sure somebody just can't get in there. Is there leftover security from when VAC was there that we can just flip on? Or
no, the only security in the VAC office is the doors. I mean, there's no burglar alarm or any of that in the VAC office.
We probably have to transfer one to the other.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of moving some. Well, right now that security system that went in over there is just motion detectors. You know, somebody opens the door or goes inside, the motion detectors go off and call 911. Okay. So, but that's just a matter of moving it over here. It's pretty simple to do.
Let's get their buy-in, and I could have that conversation if you want to as well, because we're going to be at department head meeting. We could probably have this hammered out, and then we can come back here next month and let everybody know if we're all in agreement that we want to see this happen. Let's don't wait. Let's do it.
Right. This thing needs to move forward. This treasurer's building really needs to move forward. We need to do something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Very good. That's all I have.
Okay.
Regarding the, I got some compliments on the courthouse, the painting job. The courts are happy with it. I heard from a couple of judges. They're very appreciative of what you did over there and the work that was done. I talked to some of the employees. I stopped into the clerk's office. While they're not enjoying this whole e-file thing, it's causing more paper and more work. It's just the opposite of what the intent is of the law. Mr. Kinzinger knows that conversation. We had that yesterday with the judges. But they're very happy on the paint job and everything. They can't wait till the tile's in. I looked at that. It was the new counter area. Thank you for all of that. I know there's more to do, but that was done efficiently and within compliance with the law. So that was really it. Just basically. Oh, and the door looks great too. You wouldn't think it's not an antique door.
Right. Exactly right. They did a great job on that. On top of everything else, that went in very well. They did a nice job.
And you're also working on the ADA signage placement of that, correct?
I do have the signage in my office. I just haven't had anybody to put it up. Bill returned back to work today. He's going to work through his pain with his knee, and we'll start. I'll get with Pam and we'll start putting these signs up. I do have them. It's just been a shortage of manpower with the snow and everything else. But we're working on it, and Pam and I are working together to get some other things done as well. So,
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for all your help.
Thank you.
We need to, when we see our maintenance people, we need to give them a pat on the back instead of a kick in the rear. They've done a great job. Ms. Fogarty. She's coming here or there? She's coming here. Yeah. Morning.
Good morning. How's everybody?
Fine.
Okay. All right. I just want to speak a little bit today. We have a new ADA brochure. Part of this was mandated that we had to do, and it's a policy and procedures, policies on the county and what our stance is on disabilities and discrimination against people with disabilities. It's also a notice of accommodation and procedures to request accommodations should someone be in the courthouse and need an accommodation. This has been, I know it's just a brochure, but it's not just words. I mean, we are trying to accommodate everybody so that they have equal access and communication throughout the courthouse, but just not the courthouse, throughout the county and all of our services and buildings. We've started with the courthouse because we kind of had to. However, as we go forward, I've gotten a lot of response, and everybody's been working really well with me as far as the ADA. Brian kind of puts his blinders on sometimes when he sees me coming, but other than that, everybody else has been working really well with us. And so this is going to be a little bit bigger than what you have. It's actually going to be 8.5 by about 14, so the print will be a little bit larger as well. And they've done a real nice job. Andy had hired this out with somebody that in the county, I'm not sure how he knew, but she did a great job with the graphics and that. And it's just worked out really well. Everybody's worked well with me, and I do appreciate that. I can't say that enough, because sometimes it seems like, you know, these are things that seem mundane or that but it's the law and you have to do it. And not only that, it's the right thing to do.
Any questions? Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, it folds up like this, so everybody kind of gets the deal. So this obviously isn't the size, but it's going to be,
okay.
you know, much more legible when you read it. So I just want to give the thought they're going to sit at the courthouse available. They will be online, so people can access it online, and make those accommodation requests. We will also have versions of this for the other buildings as we start working through this. The first thing is to get the courthouse done, because that was the first mandate by the Attorney General's office, was to get that done, and then we'll apply what we're learning and what we're doing to all the other buildings. So.
Any other questions for Mrs. Fogarty? Anything at all? Any other comments?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to old business. Any old business for right now? Right now, any old business? New business, Mr. Chairman.
A lot of the things we've already kind of talked about. The situation with Brian, it is a real situation. You know, his phone is ringing. He's got vendors calling. Not so much that we owe him money anymore. We're doing pretty well with that. So those phone calls have kind of lessened a little bit. They'll pick back up though when we hit, you know, May or June. But when we start talking about being able to order things, being able to bid things, being able to really function, you know, because you got to, if you're doing all the time, you're not managing, and we're losing that management side of it because he's a doer. He gets things done. And so we've been talking about this, and we talked about it actually a couple of years ago in this committee, is how can we use, you know, I don't want to say staff help, clerical help, whatever it needs to be out of administration to help him out. And we were just really thin at that point as well. You may remember that we thought we could get away with Diane's position being half-time, and that did not work out. Nobody could have performed in that situation. So it's not an indictment on her and her abilities, it's just too much. And it's the same thing for Brian. So as we started to look at his replacement, and you know, knowing that it's the county board who hires that replacement, and we kind of defer autonomy, if you will, on the operations and the staffing, if you will, of the jail and in the maintenance side, and then also the courthouse to the sheriff. So it's really a joint project between the sheriff and the county board on, you know, finding the next maintenance director, if you will. And then everything that goes on with it, but it is ultimately our responsibility, and that position reports to the county board. So my thought is that how do we get more with less? Because at least for the next 4 to 5 years, we're still going to be in the same situation we're in now, where we just can't spend money. We have to try to get by until we have the ability or the possibility of not having to borrow money to survive on a yearly basis. And that's what our goal, and that's what we're working towards. So when I looked at where we were at and what we needed to do, I looked at the way that both either government or administration departments are run, and then also private businesses, where you put people together to gain efficiencies that work together on a daily basis. You don't have people scattered all over the place. So it's always, you know, hey, I'll you know, I'm on the 3rd floor. I'll be up in a few minutes. I'm on the 2nd floor. I'll see you in a little while. Well, when he's out of the office, where do I go? So what I'm asking this committee for is I'd like to move the buildings and grounds, the maintenance department, if you will, up into where the auditor's office is and move the auditor down into where building and grounds is, to have an administration department all together up on the 5th floor. All administration as much as possible. We can't move the assessor because the assessor's down, serves the public, if you will, on the 1st floor with everybody else. But what I'm trying to do is gain those efficiencies and allow the staff that's upstairs in administration to help fill that gap that Brian needs. Those phone calls can be made by whether it's Pam or Joanne or Diane in a pinch. Everybody can cover for each other. And we're trying to cross-train people on different responsibilities within administration so we're not left in a lurch. Somebody's off for 2 weeks. Well, who's going to do this? You know, that kind of stuff. So we're in a situation, if we're going to have to get more with less, people have to be cross-trained and be able to cover for people. And it's the same thing for Brian's department. If he is going to be gone and someone else is going to be new, then we're going to have to, he's going to have to be out there, or she's going to have to be out there doing it in the field, kind of learning the buildings. And if they need something, they're going to have to call up and say, hey, I need to get 3 bids on this. And because they can't do it there and do it here. You see my point? So that's why I'm coming to this committee. It's a simple move. It's just desks and files and things like that. It doesn't really upset any of the operations of anybody, if you will. It's not like the treasurer move where we're building walls and schematics and drawings and contractors and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to bring it to this committee first and then sit down with the auditor and then tell him what we're thinking and make sure that everything jives with, you know, how people want to operate. I look at the space of those 2 areas and they're very similar. You know, so I guess if there's any questions from this department or concerns, please, in this committee, let me know. You know, if you agree, disagree, whatever, you know.
Ms. Peters.
Well, Brian just mentioned that Joanne's having a hard time even getting the loss risk done. So I don't know if you're going to be able to cross-train her to do much more than what she's doing if she's not being able to even, you know, do the loss risk officer job up to, you know, what maybe it needs to be done. And I think you're really short up there. And then with Lynn being gone, what's the bigger plan, I guess?
The bigger plan is mentioned in our other discussion is that as we reorganized let me answer your first question first. Everybody has to know how to do everybody's job, okay? Because people will have to cover with everybody else. And as we look at moving towards a county administrator that is managing all of those processes, if you will, that will create those and paid for, as I mentioned, in a budget neutral or even a better than budget neutral fashion. That person is also in charge of risk management. And so as we shift things around and we start to allocate different things to different areas, you're responsible for one thing, but you may have your finger in a lot of different other processes. So it's not like we're going to have one-trick ponies up there where they only do this. I think Pam has been a wonderful addition. She has the ability, you know, we're training her on claims. So if we need to cover processing claims when someone's on vacation in finance. So we're trying to get this cross-functional team, but you still have a daily job to do. You know, and that's kind of where we're at. And if we can't hire people for specific things. So to me, this is the only solution that covers off getting everybody on the same page and being able to deal with frankly, you know, what happens if, you know, somebody's sick for a payroll? Somebody else has to know how to do payroll. You know, what happens if we have a loss risk meeting or something that has to be updated, but that person, again, might be sick or on vacation? We can't be held hostage by staffing levels.
Are you in the process of doing this now? Have you talked to the other people, or do you just need approval from us to do it, or do you
I need philosophical approval that you think that all administration departments should be as close together as possible.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah, and that these gained efficiencies as we reorganize how the workflow goes, that you agree with the building and grounds part of this, putting everybody together.
Do you need a motion to do that, or just?
I'd prefer it. Yeah, I want to make sure, and if people don't agree with it, to tell me.
Entertain a motion to reorganize per the chairman's recommendations, and then you bring it back to us and get it going as soon as possible. Or you just need to do that.
I'd like to. What I'd like to do is talk to the specific department heads. I've already talked to Brian, and he agrees. Right. But I want to talk to the auditor because, you know, to make sure that any fears are quelled and he knows exactly what our motives are and why we're doing this and what it hopefully will bring to the county.
Okay.
But the end result is we want to do this. That's where I'm at.
There's a motion by Mr. Legess. Second or question?
I just think maybe we should talk to Mr. Lee before we vote on it. That's what I would just like to have his input. I mean, when we talked about the treasurer move, it was always about, you know, bringing them in to talk about it, the move and how it would work. We wanted them involved, and now I feel like he's kind of on the outside. Maybe he should have been even invited to the meeting today to
I look at it as it's our decision as
Yeah.
the county board. We run the
Right.
buildings and the grounds, and while we want to accommodate people as much as possible, we're not ripping things up. We're just moving one floor. And they're not a public-facing entity of the county, if you will. There's people not walking up into the auditor's office to do business. So I wanted to see, okay, do we agree with this? Then I can go talk. And if then he has issues, he can come back and talk to us as a committee.
Mr. Legess.
Probably should get a second before we get the.
Well, I was going to. That's why I asked her if it was a question or a
Yeah,
second.
get a second, and then we'll have more to.
Okay, second? Mr. Kinzinger.
My
Okay.
thought is that
I would rather have Andy go to the auditor with the backing of the committee. So the auditor doesn't look at it like, oh, this is Andy wanting to do something by himself again or something.
That's why the motion was made. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Any other new business?
We got to vote.
Oh, we didn't vote on it? Oh. You know, that's just a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Any other new business?
I make a motion.
Motion to adjourn. Mr. Legess and Mr. McKay, second. Thank you. Thank you, folks.